There are fewer things in baseball more exciting than watching a triple play. They range from the routine 5-4-3 to the 4-6-5-6-5-3-4 triple play, which the boys in the Bronx turned back in 2013. But there's a new contender on the books. 3 of our favorite things are all coming together. National Hot Dog Month, Ballpark Buns, and the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ballpark Buns, America's favorite bun, is celebrating National Hot Dog Month with the Fame On sweepstakes. The lucky winner will get a VIP experience at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, plus $3,000 for travel. The VIP experience includes behind-the-scenes and after-hours access to an amazing institution that keeps baseball legends alive. And don't forget to keep your summer rolling with Ballpark. Perfect for grilling, tailgating, parties, and more. Ballpark hot dog and hamburger buns deliver fresh taste and outstanding flavor. With 5 varieties of buns and rolls, make Ballpark Buns part of your next meal and watch the crowd go wild. To enter the Fame On sweepstakes, go to ballparkbuns.com/fameon. It's Client Appreciation Month at Sport Clips Haircuts. Get a double MVP for the price of an MVP, or cool it down and try the MVP on ice. It's our way of saying thanks for all you do. Hurry, ends July 31st. Sport Clips, it's good to be a guy.
Oh, good Wednesday morning, everybody. Hope you are off and running as we are out the gate here. Mike and Trey.
Yeah.
Sneak Peek Week.
See, it's the second day of Sneak Peek. Again, Trey and I will start our show November 27th, week 12 in the NFL, which who doesn't start things in the last quarter?
You want to be there
the
for
season.
the last quadrant.
I mean, I think it's the most important part.
I agree.
One of the best. Never mind. So can we still?
Yeah.
My question was, can we still call it a sneak peek?
Sure.
We're day 2 into it.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow, day 3 of the sneak peek, we'll bring Michael, my son, into it, Junior, who's going to be part of the show as well.
Right.
So that'll be like another sneak. Can it continue to be sneak peeking?
Well, I think there are very few rules on how you promote things in broadcast these days. So I'm pretty sure
are we
could
testing
do
the parameters of that?
No, I love that when we put something on the screen on the TV side, it says breaking news, and it broke like 8 hours ago.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's a lot of room.
It's loose, right?
There's a lot of room.
The
by the
sneak peek
way,
is loose.
Happy football season.
Yes, it is.
Right? Today, 5 teams have their rookies report to camp, so football season is finally here.
It kind of makes me want to a little bit thinking back to those days. And it sounds like that sound was maybe you last night, huh?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
because
I'm glad you didn't bring it up.
It came pretty close. Okay, so here's the story.
Yeah, give me the story.
We were over at Wimbledon for a while.
Right.
And
you and your wife, Jan.
Yeah, so we're at Wimbledon. So we had been out of the house for a long time, and then we got back, and then after 2 days, I went down to see our son in D.C., and she's out in L.A. seeing our daughter.
Okay.
So in other words, there's precious little food in the house.
Nothing in the house.
Nothing in the house. And she's coming back later on this week, and so
she's gone, you're in the house alone, so there's still nothing in the house because you're not going out to get
Correct.
anything.
There's dog food for the dogs, so I got that taken care of.
All right.
So at about 7:30 last night, I'm like, God, I'm hungry. See what's in the fridge. Mm-hmm. So I open the fridge, and there's really nothing there. There's a half-eaten salad. There's some kale. There's some
kale.
Yogurt. Yeah, it's a long story. But then I see this half-wrapped sandwich, and I open up. It's an egg and cheese sandwich.
It's an egg and cheese sandwich.
Yeah, it's been in the fridge.
Okay.
And I'm like, I love egg and cheese sandwiches.
Okay.
So I started eating the egg and cheese sandwich. And then I started thinking, okay, how long has this sandwich been in the fridge?
Yeah.
Because we were gone for 2 weeks.
Right.
And then we didn't bring in any egg and cheese sandwiches.
No, you
into the
didn't.
house.
So it predated you leaving. Then
Correct.
It comes down to how long did it predate it predating you leaving.
Correct. Well, then we have a dog sitter that comes and stays in the house
Okay.
with the dogs when we're there. So I'm thinking maybe it's hers, but then I realized I don't think this is what she eats.
Right. And then would she leave that in your fridge? I mean,
and then I realized that Chap came home for 4th of July weekend. And it looks like something he would have eaten.
Right.
So now we're talking that egg and cheese sandwich has been in the fridge for about 14, 15 days.
Okay.
Is that – and Hembo is already starting to laugh here. And, I mean, the sandwich was fine. It was cold, but it was whatever.
There was no funky taste to it at all?
Well, not that I could tell. It might have been frozen out.
Right.
So –
I mean, you heat it up in the microwave?
No, I just ate it cold.
You just pulled it – okay.
Just ate it cold. So then I'm starting to wonder, how long can an egg and cheese sandwich stay in the fridge and not turn?
Yeah.
How long
it's
before
a fair
it turns
question.
into just a Petri dish that I'm now stuffing?
That's a fair question because given that situation, I think I would have eaten it as well. I think I would have microwaved it a little bit, warmed it up.
This is why this show is going to work.
Yeah.
This is why this show
because one of us may not be here one day because of food poisoning?
No, that we're both that stupid, and it doesn't matter.
But you feel okay?
I feel okay, although there were a couple times last night I was going,
you thought, uh-oh.
Just a little.
Yeah. Was this the wrong move?
Yeah, and I thought, this would be really bad if I had to call in and say, hey, sneak peek week, I got something else coming up. Good thing
it couldn't have been a half like ham and cheese sandwich. It had to be egg.
Yeah, it was egg and
cheese. It just sits so well over time.
Well, that I don't know the answer to that. So let's tweet us on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. How long can eggs sustain themselves after they've been cooked in the fridge?
In the fridge.
Yeah, because usually these things go through me pretty quickly.
Obviously, 2 weeks since you seem to still, at least 2 weeks since you still seem to be okay.
Well, okay's a relative term with me.
From the food situation.
Let's be honest, but I'm battling that with some good Cheribundi this morning.
Well, of course you are, and there it is. Makes it in day 2 of Sneak Peek.
Cheribundi's good for you.
Makes it in day 2 of Sneak Peek week. Say that 10 times.
Delicious and nutritious.
Uh-huh.
So, at any point today, if Mike suddenly is doing the show alone, I think we know why.
We'll know the exact expiration date of a half egg and cheese sandwich.
Right, we got something here. According to stilltasty.com, 2 to 3 days in a fridge. Well, we passed that.
Wow.
1 month in a freezer. Definitely freeze them if you want them to last more than a couple of days. However, freezer burn can be a significant factor if not properly sealed, and they will dry out in that time.
That is true.
Leaving their texture and flavor potentially undesirable.
Whenever there's freezer burn of anything that I have in the freezer, I just throw it on the grill, melts it off.
That's probably true.
Good.
But again, the important thing there was I missed the 2 to 3 day timeline by about 12.
By about 10 times.
So we're testing our limits today, and we're delighted to be doing that.
No, we're testing your limits
That's
today.
Also
it doesn't
true.
affect me one bit.
Well, if I lose it here in the studio, we'll be testing your limits as well.
That's exactly right.
I think I'll be testing hers, and his. I'm pointing to everybody in the studio for those of us that are listening on radio.
There you go.
If at any point today, suddenly Mike is doing the show alone, we now know the reason.
There you go.
The professional disclaimer is out. And with that, we will seamlessly transition into the day. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and all guests appear via the Shell Pencil Up Performance line. So let's get rolling with
Off the Top.
Or Up the Throat.
Either one of those things are very likely to happen. Off the top, so far so good.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper and Mike Trout each hit a home run in the first inning of the second career series meeting against each other. Harper finished the game 4 for 4.
Yeah, and the Nationals won this game 4-3. I love how they do the measurement. Trout's went 448 feet. Bryce Harper just 405 feet. They both count as a home run.
They're still over 400 feet.
Is that where we're going now? How about this? The highest WAR in age 22 season or younger. These two guys, you want to talk about the stars.
Yeah. Position
players since 1900. Okay? Listen to the top 4. At number 4, 1917, Rogers Hornsby. 9-9. He was 21 years old. This is the WAR. 2000, number 3, Bryce Harper in 2015, 9-9. He was 22. Number 2, 1941, a guy named Ted Williams, 10-6 WAR. He was 22. And number 1 all time, 2012, Mike Trout, 10-8 when he was 20 years old. You want to talk about the young stars of the league, and they both go yard in the first inning of their game, won by the Nationals.
Of course, WAR is that made-up stat that Hembo loves so much.
He just absolutely.
Wins against replacement?
Yeah, wins against replacement.
Well, who was the replacement? Well, it's a mythical figure we could put in.
It's a mythical figure. That's kind of a lot of people thought about my football career.
No, I actually saw you play.
You did?
I did.
Were you impressed?
I was.
Okay.
Absolutely. Mythical is Hembo's belief in the national pastime. That's what's mythical. All right, we move on and continue with.
It's going to be fun.
Off the Top.
The Dodgers became the first team to win 30 games in a 34-game span since the 77 Royals with a 1-0 victory over Chicago White Sox.
Yep, 130 games, 34-game span in the World Series era since 1903. As you mentioned, Royals were the last one. Before that, it was the Yankees in 47.
Wow.
And then before that, it was the Yankees in 41. Both times they went on to win the World Series. The Dodgers have now won 2 10-game win streaks this season. The rest of baseball is combined for 2. The Dodgers have won 14 straight Clayton Kershaw starts. And, oh, by the way, they've also won 11 straight Alex Wood starts.
How is that possible?
Meaning they've won 25 straight games by Kershaw or Wood. The last loss was May 1st. They are
impressive.
on fire.
Well, and just looking at that, when it says since the 1977 Royals, that was when the Royals and the Yankees played in the ALCS every year. The Yankees then would go on to play the Dodgers 2 straight years in a row in the World Series, 77, 78. That was really a really fun time in baseball. So it's nice to see that sort of stuff come back again. We continue with
Off the top.
trades. The Yankees acquired Todd Frazier and right-handed relievers David Robertson and Tommy Conley for the White Sox for 4 players. And more importantly, Golic here, perhaps the Yankees beat the Red Sox.
Exactly.
To
Red Sox 3.5 games against the Yankees right now. Red Sox were in it for Frazier as well. Yankees beat him to it. Yankees need the help, though. Frazier will play third and first, especially at third base. The Yankees have 4 home runs from third base this season, fewest in the majors. So, and while Frazier is still having a down year a bit, he's still on the second most home runs by a third baseman over the last 3 seasons. So, and then you get Conley and Robertson as relievers. The Yankees now have 5 of the 25 highest strikeout rates in baseball amongst their relievers. So, help there, help in the bullpen. Help at the corners infield as well. Let's see what it does for him.
And by the way, that's not the only big
top
news and off the top trade-wise. The Tigers traded J.D. Martinez to the Diamondbacks for 3 prospects, moving to a division with 2 of the best left-handed pitchers in Major League Baseball this season, Kershaw and Wood.
Well, they're chasing, obviously, they're chasing the Dodgers. They're like 10.5 back from them, and you talked about the lefties there. The Diamondbacks are really good against righties and really bad against lefties. Martinez is really good against lefties. Batting average, slugging percentage, OPS, all first in Major League Baseball against lefties. So amongst players with at least 40 plate appearances. So they got him for that. The bottom line, though, so we'll see again how it helps this year. For Frazier, who we just talked about, Martinez, they're both, you could say they're in that rent-a-player mode.
Correct.
Martinez, or Frazier's off, I believe, a 1-year deal, and Martinez the last year. One of them's in the 1-year deal. I forgot which one. Both. No, the last year, one of them was just playing on a 1-year deal. But either way, both are done at the end of this year with their contracts.
Well, again, you see that a lot in baseball more than any other sport.
Sure
the
do.
rent-a-player
Rent 'em,
scenario. So there's been some good news in baseball, and then
Off the top.
some rough news in baseball. Carlos Carrera expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks after tearing a ligament in his left thumb in Monday's game.
Basically, the injury that Trout had. Trout had it. Mike Trout
same thing Mike
sliding
Trout
into
had.
second base. This, after a hard swing by Carrera, he just dropped the bat, grabbed his thumb, and the result, unfortunately, is out 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, here's a guy that leads all of major. You talk about young stars.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Leads all major league shortstops in OBP, slugging percentage, home runs, RBI runs, and total bases this season. So, I mean, he is an absolute monster. The team is doing incredibly well. Now they're going to be without Carrera for 6 to 8 weeks. So we've seen Trout coming back from that. Seems to be coming back pretty well. But, we'll see how Carrera can come back.
Tough one for Correa and see what happens with him. No, I said it. We both did, just so you know.
Saying it wrong.
It's important to be consistent.
Correa.
Hembo's laughing at us.
Well, you say it wrong.
You watch it.
Wrong
You watch
every time.
yourself, Hemba-Kiedis.
Correa.
Eyes on you.
He's got a good war.
Eyes on you.
He's got a good war.
Well, who's the war?
Carlos Correa?
Yeah, no.
He's got a good war.
Who's the replacement?
Mythical?
Well, we'll find out.
A unicorn. We'll find out.
Correa.
All right.
Sneak peek.
There it is. Yes. Sneak peek of malaprops. Who was that guy that did all those commercials?
I don't even know what name I was saying.
Carrera.
Why would I say Carrera when it's Correa?
A Porsche Carrera? I don't know. You were thinking about a fast car. Oh, and as we said off the top, off the top.
Off the top.
Hey, Wednesday marks 50 days until the start of the NFL season. Over the last 5 seasons, Drew Brees has recorded 50 300-yard passing games, including postseason.
How about that? Tom Brady's second with 39 in that span. And more importantly, for the youngsters out there, the rookies, and you know who you are, 5 teams reporting: Bears, Cowboys, Jags, Ravens, and Saints. The rookies are reporting, which, again, everybody's going to be nervous. For the top rookies, the higher draft picks, you know you're going to be around. But, boy, I tell you, for the later draft picks and then the undrafted free agents, it is nerve-out time. And for training camp and training camp stories, and I know training camp's a little different, but it's still, there's a whole lot on it. 90 guys, you got to end up with 53. So, there are guys every single day you're looking around, wondering what's going to go on, what kind of play did I make, did this help me or hurt me today? It's nail biting, no doubt about it.
Well, Herm was on with us yesterday morning telling some great stories about the sheet under his door with his roommate's name. So he ran to the locker room to see if his stuff was still in the locker to make sure he was still part of the team.
I have to tell you a story about how I knew that I made the team in Houston.
Yeah.
It's my father-in-law, my late Ken Hansen.
Right.
He actually called before the last cuts were released. Mm-hmm. He called the Oilers and acted like he was a reporter who had just had to get names in, but because he had a deadline, but he wouldn't report the story until later and just asked.
You want a confirmation?
Yeah, just
that's awesome.
The cuts, and he was told, and he actually let me know I wasn't cut in the last cut.
That's fantastic.
It was awesome.
That's
a great job. Yeah.
The worst part about that, though, would have been, and we've seen this happen a lot of times in training camp. They have that list, then they see somebody cut from somewhere else, and then they make a trade for that guy, and they change the list.
Or what would have been bad if I was cut, and it was my father-in-law who had to tell me I was cut.
Well, either of those scenarios would have been bad, but it didn't work out that way. So good for you and good for him. And that was
Off the Top.
All right, we're off and rolling. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. We'll compare rates for you so you get the best deal, even if it's not with us, saving you time and money. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today.
Do you mind if I start before we jump into the Kirk Cousins thing? How about a little social media play?
Do it. Let me hear it.
So, we talked about the trade with the Yankees and the White Sox. And a related note for the White Sox, they called up their top prospect, Yohan Moncada. Okay? Mm-hmm. So they called him up infielder. And the interesting thing about Moncada, forgetting the play on the field that we'll have to wait and see, he's a guy who at one point was eating 85 Twinkies a week.
So he's on the Pablo Sandoval diet.
There you go. Right. 85 Twinkies a week. He once ate in a week. And a lot of people say, why did he keep count? When you eat this many, you keep count.
That's exactly right.
In a week, he ate 225 Twinkies.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's a lot of Twinkies.
Have you ever seen the movie Zombieland with Woody Harrelson?
I don't know if I have.
And Jesse Eisenberg, is that his name?
I think I might have.
Okay, that's the one where it's a zombie apocalypse.
Right, sure. Why not?
Because that's not a theme in any movies at all or TV shows. And he's so distraught because he wants to find the Twinkies before they're all gone. So they go through, basically they're trying to avoid the zombies, but every time there's a grocery store, they stop and look for Twinkies and run into more zombies.
And aren't Twinkies one of those things that supposedly never go bad?
Oh, yeah, they have a shelf life of about 4,648 years.
If you found that in your fridge, you'd feel safe eating.
I was about to say, a lot safer eating a Twinkie outside the fridge than what I ate in the fridge. The egg and cheese sandwich, which apparently I missed by 12 days.
So at Mike and Mike, 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, at Mike and Mike, Andrea is going to put up the question, what's your personal record for binge eating any certain type of junk food? And when we say junk food, we're going to give you a wide berth there.
But we're not doing vegetables.
We're not doing like kale.
Thank you.
Something like that. Because mine will be, and I'll tell the story a little later, was chicken wing, buffalo wings, chicken wings.
That's not junk food. Well, okay, all right. We'll put it in the broad spectrum.
Believe me, it's not health food.
Well,
to me, there's two categories.
Yeah.
There's health food and there's junk food.
It's protein.
Anybody saying wings is health food?
Protein.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's not protein. It's not deep fried.
But it's lathered in the ranch.
Yeah,
and all
absolutely.
That. All good stuff.
Butter. It's fine.
So, what's your personal record for binge eating any certain type of junk food? Wide berth on junk food. Yeah. Hit us up at Mike and Mike. Thanks to Yohan Moncada doing 225 Twinkies in a week.
That's a lot.
And 85, and before that, 85 Twinkies he was averaging per week. That's unbelievable.
Well, not only that, but I'm off to the line from Ghostbusters from Ernie Hudson. That's a big Twinkie. That's one giant.
Make a giant Twinkie.
Camera 2 is laughing. Thank you. Yeah. That's a big Twinkie. That's a big Twinkie.
Camera could laugh. That's
the person operating the camera.
Okay.
Could laugh.
All right.
So anyway, you mentioned it. Kirk Cousins. I thought yesterday after the whole decision came down and Bruce Allen had his statement, Kirk basically came out and said, "I want to wait and see how good this team is before I commit to them." And for people that don't understand or may have forgotten, they lost their top two wide receivers.
Right, 2,000-yard receivers, yeah.
First time ever. They lost their offensive coordinator, Sean McVay, who's now the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams. The GM situation was in flux, and that's sort of been taken care of. But there's a lot different about this Washington team. And it's very rare, Mike, that you find a player in the NFL that will dictate to the team, hey, show me you're good enough for my services.
But isn't that what it's? I mean, we always talk about free agent. I know he wasn't a free agent, but he was negotiating. At the end of the day, he ended up being one, so he's kind of put in that position. Isn't that what you say? You're in that position to make decisions, and I know a lot of it is about because I know Louis Riddick went off, and it was before Louis Riddick going off basically on Kirk Cousins was before Kirk Cousins was on the radio and kind of explained what he was doing, Lewis was saying he doesn't want to be there basically because he wasn't counter-offering. They weren't negotiating. It was just like, we don't like your offer. We're not going to negotiate. And Lewis was saying basically because you don't want to be there.
Right.
Afterward, on the radio, is when Kirk Cousins said, I want to wait and see what's going on. You know, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
There's nothing wrong. That's what, it's about where you want to be, the amount of money you want to make, and the situation that you're in or a situation you're going to. What are you going to be doing? What kind of team are we going to have?
Who am I throwing to?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Look, there are so few times when an NFL player has leverage against the team,
right,
and leverage really against the system, which is the way it's set up. For him to be able to do this, I think it's tremendous, and I think that a lot of players would probably do the same thing. I mean, look, Kirk knows that one way or another, even if he stays in Washington and they transition him on a year-to-year basis, which they said, that they don't want to do, but he's fine with doing that. He's going to make north of $45 to $50 million over 2 years anyway. And if he had taken that long-term deal, basically that 6-year deal was a 2-year deal, and then 4 one-year contracts, basically not guaranteed.
Right.
So why would he tie himself to that situation in that team over that time frame when he could make more money by playing this 1 year on the tag and then go become a free agent and probably cross close to $100 million in guaranteed money?
What gets interesting, though, is because you see, in all sports you can kind of certainly see it in basketball as well. What kind of team are we going to have around us that may dictate where a player wants to go? The difference in football is, and they could say back to him, well, you know what, a lot of the type of team you want to see, and you're saying you want to wait to see what we're going to do, is going to be tied to what we have to pay you.
Yeah.
So, and that's fair from the other side. So wait a minute, if you're going to get all this money, that could hamper us in bringing players that we want to bring in to make this team better. We talked about that yesterday.
Yep.
When you get lucky to strike gold, especially, like you did in Seattle with Russell Wilson being the third rounder, and now in Dallas, while Zeke was a first rounder, but Dak Prescott being a fourth rounder, you get a couple of years of leeway before you have to pay that guy. And so in Washington, they're saying, listen, I mean, what kind of money are we going to have?
Right.
What kind of money are you going to take? Then what kind of money are we going to have to build around you? So I understand it from Cousins, has every right to ask that, but then that could be the answer from a team. Well, all depends on the type of money you take.
Yeah.
Which type of then the kind of players that we can bring in.
You're right, and we did talk about this yesterday. And again, I think both of our positions is pretty clear. Whatever a player can get in the NFL, he should get, because my goodness, the career is so short, and the risk of injury is so much. Career-threatening injury is so much more in the NFL than it is in any other situation. But we mentioned the Ravens with Joe Flacco since they paid him in that contract, and we mentioned even Drew Brees, first ballot Hall of Fame. It's not close, not a debate. One of the best we've ever seen. They're 7-9 the last 3 years.
Right.
They haven't made the playoffs because they had $30 million invested in one position,
right,
and then it's impossible. Again, the margin of error if you're going to pay a quarterback these kinds of dollars is so thin that if you have 1 or 2 misses in free agency, 1 or 2 drafts that don't work out, you're probably not going to be a very good team. And that's why you see with what we talked about with Seattle, what they were able to do, what the Patriots are able to do with Tom Brady not being one of the highest paid quarterbacks.
And again, it's you shouldn't be. It's a shame you're in a league now where, hey, you want to be good? Take less money.
Yeah, no.
Hey, you want us to be able to get guys around you? Take less money.
It's the only league where that happens.
Everybody should be able to maximize, their earning potential.
Which goes to the bigger point we kind of danced around but didn't get into yesterday. Does the NFL really need a salary cap?
Yeah.
Does it really need it? Because at the end of the day, unlike Major League Baseball, NHL, or NBA, the broadcast pie is the same.
Right.
It's the same. 32 teams are slicing up the money from ESPN, from Fox, from
Evenly.
NFL Network,
Yep.
from NBC. They're taking that money, and CBS, they're taking that money and they're getting it equal.
Right.
And that's people can talk about ticket prices and concessions and parking and all that stuff. None of that matters.
Nope.
1/100th as much as the broadcast money each team gets. That's the basis of where they do almost everything. So that's an entire discussion we can get into as well. But we'll got more on the Redskins, and we'll play that sound that Lewis was you were talking about with Louis Riddick in a minute.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Guys don't really talk about antiperspirant. Despite that, 91% of Dove Men Plus Care users recommend it. Here's what they said.
It blocks the, perspiration, I think is the fancy word.
It's comfortable. It smells nice. My girl likes the smell.
Well, it's hard.
I think it's quite masculine. My underarms aren't the worst thing at the gym.
It's kind of like the Hoover Dam from my armpits, I guess.
Dove Men Plus Care Antiperspirant. Tough on sweat, not on skin.
All right, we roll on. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic here on this Wednesday, and you had put out on there on social media, and we've already gotten some great responses. Mm-hmm. That one minor league player that wants 225 Twinkies.
Yohan Moncada got called up by the White Sox, and he was basically averaging eating 85 Twinkies a week. He wants 225 Twinkies in a week. So we're basically asking you for your best junk food binge. And again, we're giving you a wide berth on junk food. No kale or, veggies or anything like
Salad.
That.
Yeah. Ate 10 salads once in a day.
Doesn't count.
Roughage.
Doesn't count.
That would help with the egg situation.
I was going to say, and you'll be locked at home for a while too. You do something like that.
So what do you got? What do you got?
Noah said, while camping, I drank 18 cans of Mountain Dew in one day. Wow,
that's harsh.
That's a lot of caffeine and a lot of sugar.
That's just harsh.
Isn't Mountain Dew loaded up with more caffeine and sugar than regular?
Well, then
sodas?
There's Mountain Dew Red, which also was in the movie Zombieland, by the way. Which is now going to be a recurring theme on the show. How about this one? I once had 4 pounds of bacon for breakfast, then went back to bed.
That's a lot of bacon.
That's a lot of bacon.
That's 4 pounds.
Please see your cardiologist.
What we've also done is given people the right to embellish as well with something like that.
Twitter. What could possibly not be accurate on Twitter?
Right. Christopher says, I ate 57 White Castle sliders in an hour. When
Christopher must be a large human.
When I was in Chicago one time, again with Chris's father, Ken Hansen, and Mike Kelly, a roommate of mine at Notre Dame, and then we played together in Philadelphia and with the Houston Oilers. We went to a smoker, kind of one of those drinking, smoking cigar type venues for that the guys went to. Afterward, we were very hungry, and we stopped and we got
White Castle belly bombers.
I didn't have 57 of them, but we each had, I think, in the 30s.
Yeah. They're easy to inhale.
But the house was just not livable the next day.
No, at that point,
really.
As Matt Hasselbeck once had when he was playing for the Colts, it was coming out the roof and the basement.
Yeah. Just
I believe were his words. So.
57 White Castle sliders in 1 hour. Christopher, I wouldn't have wanted to seen you 6 hours after that.
No. And by the way, to our great research department here at ESPN Radio, Yohan Moncada's weekly calorie recommendation is about 27,000 calories. Mm-hmm. Those 225 Twinkies alone accounted for more than 30,000 calories.
30,000 calories.
Just from the Twinkies.
Is that what they call empty calories?
I would say there's not much protein or
not much burn from that.
Reusable storage from the Twinkies.
Not loading up for your next workout.
Yeah. Well, you're loading up on something. I promise you that.
Keep those coming. Best binge eating of junk food experience for you. Got some good ones coming in.
Again, those are on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. We are Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We started talking about this before the last break. We'll continue into it with Kirk Cousins and the idea of he's now dictating to the team.
Right.
And again, the team is basically – what I find interesting when people are upset about this is basically Kirk is doing to the Washington Redskins what they've done to him the last 2 years.
Right.
Which is –
wait and see.
Hey, we're not sure.
Let's go out on another date.
Yes, exactly.
And we'll go from there.
Really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
Pizza was nice. Mm-hmm. I'd like to go for an afternoon stroll.
There you go.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So he's doing the exact same thing to them that they've done to him for the last 2 years. And you mentioned our own fabulous insider, Louis Riddick, who, of course, played and also worked in the front office of Washington and Philadelphia. This is what he had to say. And again, this was before. This was before Kirk made his intentions known on a radio station in D.C. Listen in.
You have to ask the Washington Redskins how they feel about their offer at $53 million fully guaranteed. Don't you have to ask them why they came in at that number? Ask why didn't Kirk make a counteroffer? Why didn't his representation make a counteroffer? That's negotiating because he doesn't want to be there. If he wanted to be there, you would make the offer. You would counter. Look, we've all been in contract negotiations. This isn't something that's just specific to football. We negotiate contracts at ESPN, MLB, NHL all the time, and a contract negotiation is just that. Make an offer then, and then meet somewhere in the middle. Don't just sit there and whine and cry and have a whole bunch of people saying that they're disrespecting you. Make an offer. If they turn you down, then walk.
So Lewis is fired up.
Wow, he is fired up again. Lewis
is a little amped.
Yeah, after that, Kirk Cousins was on the radio, and he had said basically it's to the Redskins. It wasn't taking the deal because he wants the Redskins to show him how they're building. And as I said, he has every right to do that.
That's a fair point for Kirk
He has every
make.
right to do that, but I think the Redskins in this day of the hard cap, they can say, well, you know what? We have to wait and to see what you're going to take because what you take is going to dictate what we can bring in from a player standpoint, and they're right on that side of it. Yep. So what's the right answer? Each side can do that. They can draw their line in the sand, and quite honestly, I get what Lewis is saying. Don't complain you're being disrespected and without giving some kind of counter offer, because if you really don't want to be there, then that's fine too. If you just say, basically, listen, you've done this for 2 years, I'll play here, well, I'll enjoy my year here, but good chance I'm not going to be here. That could be the word in your camp,
right? Where
you don't come across as, well, you're disrespecting me.
But did he say disrespected? I don't remember him saying, I feel like I'm being disrespected.
That I do not know.
Yeah.
That I do not know. But I don't have a problem with a player that wants to wait and see what a team has. But I certainly do see the other side of it, because this is the sport where you basically can go to a quarterback and say, you can get paid, but we can also win. We can try and do both.
Right.
But the record isn't very good of one of the top-paying quarterbacks and then going on to winning Super Bowl. So you can say you want to do that, and we can certainly try and do that, but we've seen it happen to where it's the not as highly paid quarterbacks winning the Super Bowls with the other teams around them.
And let's remember, this all goes back, it really does, to the 2012 draft. I mean, it really, really does. It goes back to the draft where RG3 was the second overall pick, who, by the way, is now out of the league.
Yes, he is.
And Kirk Cousins was the fourth-round pick. And I think the Redskins at that time became one of the few teams ever to draft two quarterbacks in the same draft and within the first 4 rounds of the draft. I remember that specifically what had happened. I'm not sure exactly what the parameters were. But, and look, RG3 was Daniel Snyder's guy.
Yeah, he was.
He was his guy. And it was pretty clear to everyone involved that that's how that was playing out. And then, obviously, RG3 had a precipitous fall after his 2012 Rookie of the Year. He tore his knee in the playoffs when he probably shouldn't have been on the field against the game against Seattle, and it just spiraled downhill from there. So all of this goes back to Kirk probably never feeling like this. And again, this is me sort of putting on what I think he's feeling as opposed to what he's really saying, but he's never really felt like, hey, this organization's had my back the last 2 years. It's been proven that way, even though he set the record 2 years in a row for the most passing yards. And you can look at some of his stats and say they're a little bit inflated. I get it. And you can also point to his play last year. I think it was the Week 17 game against the Giants. If he doesn't throw an interception, I think all they needed was a field goal to get into the playoffs. And he threw a late fourth-quarter interception. So all those things that knocked them out of the postseason. So all those things are sort of factoring into it. But at the end of the day, this has been an uneasy marriage or relationship for a lot of years, and this is just sort of exemplifying that one more time.
And now he's going to be gone.
He's
going to be gone. He'll play on the franchise tag, and then next year, look for him to be go west, young man, go west. That's where he'll end up.
Well, it certainly seems like all indications are that. And I thought it was interesting when Jeff Darlington said on the show yesterday, well, yeah, San Francisco, but let's not forget, if Jared Goff doesn't work out.
Yeah, doesn't work out.
But that I would find that to be
quick hook.
2 years after.
That'd be a really,
and remember
basically not barely even playing.
And remember
the year.
Bevy of picks that they gave. I just can't see that
either.
I can't see that happening. So I think that's got to have to be something going forward with San Francisco. The other big contract that was out there yesterday is Le'Veon Bell. Again, Tremaine Johnson, not part of it. So the Le'Veon Bell thing is very interesting because of what he was offered, what he believes he can get, and what are realistic expectations for a running back. We'll get to that in a minute.
Daddy, where do babies come from? Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, Sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
All right, we roll on. Mike and Trey this morning. Glad you're with us. And we're talking food. We're talking football.
And we're talking names of the show.
Yeah, that's
the
also
show
true.
again will start November 27th. You, me, and my son Mike will
Correct.
be part of it as well. So Murph and Sheila tweeted
Murph and Sheila, all in.
New show should be named The Trey Amigos.
Oh, all right. All right, do we have to do the dance like Martin Short and Steve Martin and Chevy Chase and all that stuff? Is El Guapo going to be hunting us down?
Good.
I like that. It's not bad.
The Trey Amigos.
That's not bad.
Then there's Danu's name for the show, Three Guys with Mics.
That's also good.
Yeah.
That's also good.
Whatever.
You seem less than thrilled with
another
that
one. Sean getting all crazy on us. Yeah. I think the show should be called G-Dog and the Wingman.
Oh, okay.
That's god-awful, Sean.
G-Dog. People don't know that is what, whenever I text Mike, I'm like, hey, G-Dog.
That's what he has up on the thing for the name.
G-Dog.
Yeah.
That's, in fact, on my phone, that's his contact. Right?
G-Dog. That's it.
G-Dog.
Wow.
All right.
That's a bad one. But keep them coming anyway.
Yeah.
Whether they're good or bad.
Well, by the way, we just destroyed that guy's entry.
No, if it's bad, you'll be mocked. You'll be
Keep
mocked, but we'll do it in a nice way.
We like it, in the best possible way. And you know what that is? That's Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Speaking of contracts, we mentioned the Kirk Cousins situation. Then there's Le'Veon Bell. Now, Le'Veon Bell has decided to turn down the Pittsburgh Steelers' latest offer. Now, the offer was to play an average of $12 million, with $30 million over the first 2 years, $42 million over the first 3. He's decided to play on the 1-year, $12.1 million tag. Now, what we don't know about those numbers we just showed you or talked to you about is how much of that 30 over the first 2 years and 42 over the first 3 is guaranteed money.
Right.
And that's in every NFL contract. That is the only thing that matters.
The thing that matters right
is
now,
guaranteed money. But the interesting thing is, all right, he's going to get $12 million this year. Do you know the contracts for the highest paid running backs in football right now? It's a little ridiculous.
It is ridiculous because it involves two guys that haven't stepped foot on an NFL field yet in a regulation game. So that's what the running back position and how it's treated now. And I think, do you agree Le'Veon Bell's the best running back in the league?
Yeah.
For the game of today. Now, we certainly missed time between injury and drug suspension and suspensions, which isn't good. But I would list him number 1, and I would list David Johnson number 2.
Yep.
They are the type of guys between great runners
can do everything.
And catching the ball out of the backfield. That's today's game. The era of the Adrian Peterson, I really think is done, where a guy is just going to run the ball, and then the main thing he does is run the ball, not catch the ball a lot. I think you have to have that threat out of the backfield. Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson, to me, are 1-2.
Right, and here are the contracts right now per players that are playing in the NFL or have signed a contract.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, we got to preface it that way. Here are the top 4 contracts and their average. Leonard Fournette hasn't played yet, 27.2, averaging $6.8 million. Shady McCoy, $26 million, averaging $8 million. Then you've got Zeke Elliott, averaging about $6 million, and Christian McCaffrey, averaging $4 million. So this contract that he turned down, first of all, he's playing under $12 million, so he's far and away going to be the highest paid in terms of
average year.
Average year. But $30 million over the first 2 would have been about $15. And again, we don't know how much of that is guaranteed. My question then becomes, when you mention what you've just mentioned, he's had some injury issues. Yep. There have been suspensions on a couple of years. Are you going to get more than that for a running back? $15 million a year?
He obviously is. That number would have set the market for running
and
backs.
That's what he said he wanted to do, set the market.
So it would have. Now, again, as you said, we don't know what was guaranteed, and the best deals these guys are going to get are obviously pretty quick out of the gate, because that position, well, ball players overall have a shelf life, but we know the running backs without question.
I think the average NFL running back career is about 3.2 years.
And the way they're being valued, you hear all the time, Mel Kiper said he'd never take one in the first round, yet we've seen him go in the first round the next few years, or the last few years, because I do think their value has changed again. I think the value of a straight running back is dicey. That's why with like Todd Gurley, who I loved out of college, I said they got to throw him the ball more.
Correct.
He can't just be, I'm just going to carry the ball. I'm not going to catch it a lot out of the backfield because, number one, they just don't have the offensive line right now for him to be just a straight running back. He's got to be used in other ways. So I do think the time of just the straight running back in the league is kind of to the past, and you got to have that versatile guy, whether he's catching it out of the backfield, whether he lines up in the slot, whether he lines up wide at wide receiver. That's the running back of today. So I do think we can change that value, and it can be a higher value again, and that's what Le'Veon Bell is trying to do. So, but it is a risk. It's risk-reward. You're going to make your $12 million. It's a nice amount of money.
It's not terrible.
So that's a good reward, but the risk is you're going for that long-term deal, but you've had the injury, and God forbid you get any more trouble off the field again. So, he's betting on himself again on the 1 year, and we'll see where it goes.
Look, and that's one of the things that made Zeke Elliott so impressive for the Cowboys last year. He blocked. He was a willing participant in the blocking game. He actually enjoyed it. He was a threat catching the ball out of the backfield.
Yes, absolutely.
But no one is shiftier than Le'Veon Bell. No one is more patient than Le'Veon Bell. So if I'm him, I understand where he's coming from, but I think you have to understand the reality of the position that you play. And I'm not sure if a year from now when he's going to be 26, he's going to get more money than he's getting now. So we'll see how that plays out.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
There are fewer things in baseball more exciting than watching a triple play. They range from the routine 5-4-3 to the 4-6-5-6-5-3-4 triple play, which the boys in the Bronx turned back in 2013. But there's a new contender on the books. 3 of our favorite things are all coming together. National Hot Dog Month, Ballpark Buns, and the Baseball Hall of Fame. Ballpark Buns, America's favorite bun, is celebrating National Hot Dog Month with the Fame On sweepstakes. The lucky winner will get a VIP experience at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, plus $3,000 for travel. The VIP experience includes behind-the-scenes and after-hours access to an amazing institution that keeps baseball legends alive. And don't forget to keep your summer rolling with Ballpark. Perfect for grilling, tailgating, parties, and more. Ballpark hot dog and hamburger buns deliver fresh taste and outstanding flavor. With 5 varieties of buns and rolls, make Ballpark Buns part of your next meal and watch the crowd go wild. To enter the Fame On sweepstakes, go to ballparkbuns.com/fameon. It's Client Appreciation Month at Sport Clips Haircuts. Get a double MVP for the price of an MVP, or cool it down and try the MVP on ice. It's our way of saying thanks for all you do. Hurry, ends July 31st. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy.
Hour number 2 this morning. Mike and Trey, glad you're with us. Hour number 13 of the egg sandwich, and it's still going strong.
You ate a half of an egg and cheese sandwich that was 2 weeks old in your fridge because there was no food in the house.
And I was too lazy to go out.
And you didn't even microwave it.
No.
Because you think if there's anything bad on it, maybe if you microwave it, that might kill some of it.
It seemed like, or that might rise to the surface. It just seemed like it was too much work. I was hungry, so I just ate it.
All right.
And so we'll see.
What happens when our wives are out
of
town?
What happens, man? We have no life.
None.
Basically. We have no life.
There's no food. Maybe I should get in this thing called a car and go get some.
An automobile?
No, I'm very comfortable sitting on this chair right now.
Order a pizza? Yeah. No. I was like, I don't want anything heavy. Oh, there's an egg and cheese sandwich from 3 days ago. Yeah. So, so far so good. We'll see if if 10 o'clock Eastern time rolls around and I'm still here. Win.
Just make it till 10. After
just
that,
win. You don't care. Yeah. Go straight to the hospital after that. You're no good to me anyway.
We got another 20 hours for Sneak Peek Week continues.
That's right, and it will continue on Thursday. We are, of course, presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And if you have some questionable things that you've eaten that probably stayed too long, you can tweet us at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Or you could continue your quest of the strangest things you've ever binged.
Yeah, binged on. Yohan Moncada was called up by the White Sox, and he is known for eating 85 Twinkies a week. His high was 225 Twinkies 1 week. So we have out at Mike and Mike the question, what food have you binged on? What junk food have you binged on the most? We're getting some really, really good ones. And, again, we've given a wide berth of binging.
Yeah.
Kevin says 3 burritos in one sitting. One was a veggie burrito. So that's how he justified it. Because veggie, we don't really care about veggies, but you eat in a burrito with 2 other burritos, that's pretty good.
The burritos are by themselves pretty important.
Scott says, I once ate 23 Jack in the Box tacos.
Oh, my.
Wow.
That's
I've done this. Brent says,
I'm getting the meat sweats just reading this list.
Brent said, I once ate a whole package of double stuffed Oreos.
Oh.
Then the next day I had a whole pizza. Forgetting the whole pizza part of it, I've eaten a whole package of double stuffed. You can't stop.
No. Well,
you can't stop.
Well, I've always said, like, Oreos and gummy bears are probably made with the most addicting opiates out there. Because
you just
can't.
keep going.
You gotta chug them. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
So, again, get to us on that at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, at Mike and Mike, at Golic ESPN, at Wingo's, and let us know what your binge fooding is and what's the stupidest thing you've ever eaten that probably went south on you before you ate it and you did it anyway. All those things are out there. So we continue here, and one of the other things that we just played that tag video in the last segment.
Right.
And amazing athletes. Okay, obviously there are obstacles in that professional tag league that they play in London, but you got to be small and you got to be shifty.
Yeah.
So what current athletes do you think would be really good at championship tag?
I know who would be the championship in tag.
Who?
Christian McCaffrey.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Be a good one.
He's
Although
small,
he might,
he's shifty.
Yeah, but he's small by football standards. He might be a little big. Like I'm thinking like Isaiah Thomas of the Celtics.
How about Julian Edelman?
That'd be good. Back in the day, Spud Webb would have been great. Spud Webb would have been a really good. Muggsy Bogues would have been really good.
I know you or I would not have been good at this.
No,
we would not have been good at it.
What about Russell Westbrook?
Oh,
shifty.
Yeah.
But he might be a little too.
He might be a little
tall.
too tall. I'd have to see that course like in person.
Well, the
way
thing
these
is,
guys are running through
when
it, and these guys are hauling.
They are flying.
On that, if you're listening on radio, at some point, check it out. Google it, as they say. What's it called? Right at the top.
World Chase Tag.
World Chase Tag. It's unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all played tag in our lives.
Not like that.
They have taken it to another level.
No, it's very impressive. But the thing about basketball players is you never really know how big they are because they're giants.
That's exactly right.
LeBron James looks sort of normal sized on the court.
And then you see him and you realize he's
My
6'8".
God, it's insane. So when I say Isaiah Thomas, he might be too big. Yeah. Also, he's what 5'9", 5'10"?
Might be too big. I don't know. I'd like to get we could find who these world tag guys are and see their heights and weights. I'm sure there's bios on
Hembo, look it up.
Yeah, Hembo, check that out.
Crack that for us.
Really, the tag championship.
He'll get that for us in 37 seconds.
We're going to talk about the Open and have Gary Player on soon, but we want to talk for a moment about Stu.
Absolutely.
And
today is Stuart Scott's birthday.
Yes.
And one of the things that he always loved to do with his daughters, Taylor and Sydney, was take them out for ice cream.
Yes, that was as they said, their really first big father-daughter moment.
They would go out for ice cream.
Go out for ice cream, and so Taylor and Sydney, Stu's daughters, we've done this, since Stu has passed away on this date. Basically, it's go out and if you have some ice cream, take a picture of it.
Yeah.
And tweet it out there, and you can hashtag it as well. Hashtag
Scoops for Stu.
Scoops for Stu.
Stu Scott Legacy.
Stu Scott Legacy. Just hashtag it about Stu, and just the way we keep Stu in our minds. And it's ice cream, and the goal is to be part of it. As I got a text from my son Mike, who just finished his show, first and last. His text: Mom and Dad, when are we going to get ice cream?
Done. Boom.
Yeah. So there you go.
And it's also what, National Ice Cream Month?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So there's a lot of
National Hot Dog Day.
So have a hot dog and then finish it up with an ice cream.
With some ice cream, take a picture and then hashtag it.
Scoops for Stu. Stu Scott Legacy.
Stu Scott Legacy, something like that.
And you can also include the link, jimmyv.org/Stuart, I believe is the link there. So
very cool.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Taylor and Sydney, we're thanking of you guys today. We had some ice cream earlier today. We'll have some ice cream later
Yes, we
today.
will. Absolutely
and
will.
We'll make sure we keep Stuart's memory alive and remember what he fought for and what you can do to help with the Jimmy V Foundation at v.org or 1-800, call 1-800-1-800-4-JIMMY-V to donate. So we'll keep that in your mind. It's going to be a hot day in most of the country, a good day for ice cream. However, also coming up tomorrow is one of my favorite sporting events of all time. It's the British Open, or as they call it over there, the Open Championship. Outside of the Olympics, it's the oldest contested championship there is in the world. And I had the very good fortune for 6 years to cover the Open Championship as part of our team at ESPN. It was awesome to go to those sites and see the venues. It's totally different than the way things are run here on the USGA and the US Open. It's a different dynamic. Anybody that shows up for the Open gets a ticket. There's no cutoff. You show up, you get a ticket. You get to wander around the golf courses. They play, obviously, at some of the greatest golf courses in the world this year. They'll be at Royal Birkdale. So it's a lot of fun. And Gary Player will be joining us in a few minutes to talk about that. But we thought we'd get you prepped for the Open Championship with Nerd Notes. You ready?
Yes, do it.
News you didn't even know you needed or even want.
Well, if I was you, I'd do something about it.
These are Mike and Mike's Nerd Notes.
And Nerd Notes brought to you by Dell. Need help finding the right Dell PCs with Intel Core processors for your business? Call 877-BUY-DELL or talk to a Dell Small Business Tech Advisor. And let's start with this one, Mike. Each of the last 7 major championships have been claimed by a first-time major winner, the longest such streak since a run of 9 in a row from the 2010 U.S. Open to the 2012 U.S. Open. The current run started at the 2015 PGA Championship with Jason Day winning at Whistling Straits.
Nerd alert!
Dustin Johnson enters his 3rd straight major as the number 1 player in the world, but he's coming off back-to-back missed cuts. I think this was after he won his first 3 starts of the year.
He started out really well this year. Yeah, it hasn't been going well since then.
Since the official world golf ranking began in 1986, only 3 majors have been won by a player ranked first in the world whose name was not Tiger Woods.
Speaking of Tiger Woods, he's now his official ranking is in the over 1,000 now, right?
Yeah, it's going to be it's a new era.
Yeah,
and we just need to get.
That part of it's over.
That part of it is done.
It's done.
Yeah. Whatever it happens after that, we have to consider a bonus.
Yep.
Nerd alert!
Rory McIlroy enters this week, having missed the weekend in his last 2 starts, just the second time he's entered a major off 2 missed cuts as a professional. He's still just 28 years old. Roy would have 5 majors with a win this week, a number that only Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus have reached at that age during the Masters era since 1934.
You know, we've had Rory. Everybody says, who's the next Tiger? It's Tiger. We've talked about, Roy. We've talked about Spieth.
Yeah.
There
is no next Tiger.
Dustin Johnson, when he finally, broke through. There isn't the next Tiger Woods, but what we do have is a good group of youngish players.
Absolutely.
No doubt about that.
Listen, you have Spieth, you have Justin Day, you have Ricky Fowler, who hopefully will get that major eventually soon. How about Justin Thomas, who played so well at the U.S. Open at Erin Hills? There's a bevy of really good young golfers right now, but you're right. To call any of them the next Tiger Woods is doing a disservice to them and to Tiger Woods. Because all these guys, we just talked about, these are some of the top players in the world. Oh, they missed some cuts. Tiger once won 128 times without missing a cut.
Yeah.
No one's ever touching that.
And they're not doing that.
They're not. It's not. No one's ever going to do that. The thing that made Tiger was that he would grind.
Yep.
And he would find a way to turn a 75 into a 68 to be around for the win.
And he'd make you have to change your game.
Correct.
To beat him.
Correct. So it's look. I hope people really appreciate it because that era of Tiger dominance is in all likely a complete.
Wait for that
gone.
30 for 30.
Oh my!
Holy smokes!
One of the best. Yeah. And we'll finish up Nerd Alerts.
Nerd alert!
With this one. Reigning champion Henrik Stenson will try and join old Tom Morris as the only players to successfully win the same major 2 years in a row in their 40s. He will also try and become the first player since Patrick Harrington to repeat as Open champion.
At what point did old Tom Morris be called old Tom? I'm sure it wasn't when he was 22.
No, I think it was when his brother or his son, young Tom Morris, came around. I think that's when it was because old Tom won and then young Tom won. At some point, you're right. He was just Tom.
Yeah.
That was so long ago. We just remember old Tom and young Tom.
There you go.
By the way, the Claret Jug is one of those iconic trophies.
Yes, it is.
They used to play for a championship belt back in the
day.
That. It was a belt.
That's now morphed into wrestling.
Yes. Yes. Well, you wrestle with your demons out there on the golf course. And our next guest knows that better than anyone. 9-time major champion and 3-time Open champion Gary Player now joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Gary, first and foremost, welcome into the program. Delighted to have you. How excited are you that Open Week is here?
Very excited, Mike and Trey. This is my 62nd time that I've been here, and I played in 46 straight, which is a record, and it's an absolute thrill because this is such a different tournament than any other tournament in the world. If you think historically what has occurred in it and how old it is and the type of golf courses they play, the links, which are my favorite, where you hit a ball up against the face of the lip and you've got to play out backwards. It tests whether you're a man or not. You have so much adversity in this tournament. And then also you can play in the morning and play in lousy weather, and a guy plays in the afternoon and he plays in perfect weather. And I want to elaborate on that. I went to watch one of my sporting heroes, Federer, play at Wimbledon, and I was sitting there thinking, he's playing in the final, but he's playing against an opponent, same conditions, 100%. Whereas when we tee off in the final day here, there's 70 guys playing, and you have all kinds of weather conditions and bunkers that are not raked and different speed greens from morning to afternoon. So golf is a very fascinating game when you think about it.
Gary Player won the Open Championship 1959, 1968, 1974. Of the majors out there, and I'm sure, golfers are human. You get nervous before things. The butterflies get going. Which one of the majors gets your heart pumping the most going to that first tee box on the first day?
I think the British Open, because you just know, you guys are talking about old Tom and young Tom, and you think of how old this tournament is, and if you really study the Open, it's remarkable. I want to tell you one of the most amazing things that I've seen and read in my life. Bobby Jones won the British Open in 1927 at St Andrews with a walking stick as a shaft and frying pan basically as a face of a club with no grooves and a ball that went 100 yards less than now, and they never changed the flags. They kept the pins the same the whole week. Can you imagine that? And they didn't have mowers to cut the green short, and they had daisies on the fairways, and this guy shot 285. I refrain. Not this guy, this most educated, greatest gentleman that ever played golf.
Gary Player with us now, and we're talking about the Open Championship. And Gary, if you forgive me, I have to tell you a personal story that you may or may not remember. Before I got here to ESPN, I was working in St. Louis, and you came to open up a golf course in St. Louis, which ironically was called Tappa Wingo, and my last name is Wingo. Right. We went out and actually met on the golf course that day as you were developing it and played it that day. So it was a delight to be with you out there that day. It's a delight to be talking to you again today. It sounds a little bit like the wind is picking up at Birkdale. What are the elements looking like this weekend?
Well, so far the birds are walking, and looks like it's going to be rainy this afternoon. But, of course, this is only Wednesday. But, the wind and the rain does usually blow at this golf course. I must say I love playing in the wind. I wish I could have had the glove. They make a glove today that you put on when the grip is wet. You can hold on without slipping. We never had grips like that. But I love playing in the wind, and it's going to be a fascinating tournament. I think Jordan Spieth, the best putter in the world, if he can, he always talks about using his B game and his C game. If he can come out with his B game, I think he'll go close to winning. Ricky Fowler's been knocking at the door. Justin Rose, whose behavior was impeccable when he lost the Masters. He had Sergio on toast at 13, and they walked off for the same score. So he lost, and I've been second at Augusta 3 times. So I know what it feels like. It stays with you forever, and he behaves so well. And, a guy like, there are a host of them that can get in there and win the tournament. I'd like to see McIlroy play well. He's missed the cut 3 times. I've never really seen that of a top player ever in my life, but he could come back with a vengeance. Very open. Always remember this. It's the man who putts well, not the man who hits the ball a long way. I'm so tired of hearing about length. Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson were not the best drivers of a ball in the world. They were number 1 repeatedly because they were focused and tried and had a great mind and were geniuses from 100 yards in.
9-time major champ Gary Player joining us here. 3 Open Championships, 3 Masters, 2 PGAs, and 1 U.S. Open. To get to putting, you obviously have to get to the green. And we mentioned the weather of the Open and how bad it can get. When most of us are playing and the weather gets that bad, we put the clubs back in the bag and take it to the clubhouse. Where you guys have to go keep playing. So take us there a little bit more. When the weather gets really bad and you're out there playing, just how much it can change your game and how difficult it can be to play in that windy, rainy weather.
I always try to make a comparison like a trade. I always said to myself, well, for example, people in India or in certain villages are just, you cannot believe how they're living. Or the people, if you look at Syria, if you look at people coming on a boat and drowning. I always said there's so many serious things. And it put my mind at rest and made me just try a little harder. Because when you're poor like I was as a young kid, you learn to try on every single shot. I would much rather finish second last than last. I never teed up against Nicklaus and ever thought he could beat me. I always stood on that first tee, and I believed I could beat him. The mind is the big thing. I played him in the World Match Play Championship in London twice on a long, wet golf course, and I beat him 6-4, 5-4, and all the newspapers unanimously said he beat me. But they didn't know what was in my mind. And this is what wins tournaments. Let's just go back to that phenomenal player, Tiger Woods. If you ever watched his mind when he was playing, was the most perfect example to watch. Jack Nicklaus had this great mind. Ben Hogan had it. There are a host of Bobby Jones had it. You've got to have that special mind. That's the thing. But ultimately, if you get on that first tee, you don't believe you can win, or you feel sorry for yourself, or you think you're entitled to anything, you're not entitled to a damn thing in this life.
Boy, you're exactly right, and we were just talking about that with Tiger, Gary, before we brought you on, and how everybody's labeled as the next Tiger. There's never going to be another guy like Tiger. To see him grind out to 129, 130 straight cuts made was really the most accomplished thing. Forget the majors that I think he ever gave us as a golf fan. He never quit, and anybody that's picked up a golf club knows how difficult it is, because it's one thing to stripe him on the range. It's another thing completely to go out there and tell yourself, avoid that bunker, look out for that tree on the left, don't hit it too far to put it in the creek, and then find the fairway. That's where the game separates itself from those of us that are just hacks and the guys that come out there and compete like you do. But you have a couple of really impressive things on your resume. You are the world's most traveled athlete, dating back to your days in the 50s, going everywhere from South Africa to play and compete across the world. But at 81, you might be the best octogenarian in shape anywhere. We played the video on the show yesterday of you doing the backflip off your boat with your family on a holiday. And first of all, kudos to you.
Absolutely.
That was tremendous. But what would you say to people that want to be in shape like you?
Well, first of all, I was choking like a dog. That boat. I'm nearly 82, a few months ago, and here I'm doing a backflip. I said, oh, boy. But all my young grandchildren, I've got 15 American grandchildren. They're all shouting in the American accent, go for it, Baba, go for it. I had to go for it. But anyway, the big thing is, you've got to understand, most people don't worry about their bodies. They don't worry about what they eat. They don't look after themselves. They don't exercise. It is easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than to get people to do exercises and eat properly. Healthcare systems are doomed. I can tell you in 50, 60 years' time, there'll be no such thing as healthcare. The people will be so sick, so ill, unless they find some miracle drug of some kind. But honestly, if you think America, the greatest country on the planet, is going to have probably 100 million diabetics in 40 years' time, and 40 years' time goes very quickly, how is healthcare going to pay for it? Mothers are not worrying about their children being obese. Schools are not giving them the right amount of exercise. The school I went to in South Africa, you had to go running, you had to swim, you had to play cricket or baseball, you had to do something. They insisted on you keeping in shape and exercise, being happy, and the big thing is the less you eat, the longer you live. And that's not the way people are living in the world today. You've got to have a good breakfast, a good lunch, and no dinner or just a handful of salad or vegetables or something. You don't put gas in your car when you park it in the garage at night.
No, you're exactly right. And listen, for anybody that hasn't followed Gary's entire career, he posted pictures during the Masters as he was watching the Masters, working out as he was watching the final weekend on an exercise ball lifting weights. So, Gary, cool. You're an inspiration on the golf course. You are certainly an inspiration to all of us to just stay active. I believe his line is rest is rust. We appreciate you being with us. Enjoy the championships. It's one of my favorite events ever to cover, and always a delight to talk to you, Gary. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Gary.
And God bless America.
No, thank you, Gary Player. He's the greatest, man.
You don't put gas in the car to park it in the garage.
He's unbelievable.
Put a lot of gas in my car
before
I parked it in the bed.
Thank God I didn't tell him about the egg sandwich fiasco. That would have been bad. But, that day in St. Louis, he was awesome. He's like, Trey, come over here. Let me show you how to do that. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was great.
And I love this tournament. I love this tournament because I think it humanizes the golfers more than anything else when it gets into bad weather. I love seeing them struggle. Is that bad?
No. Listen, they make everything look so easy out there. So when they're faced with adversity and you have to deal with it, that's when it's awesome.
Yep.
You want to see the best in the world have to grind
absolutely
a little bit.
Right.
And believe me, you will unless
well,
you
the
get
U.S.
that,
Open kind of bummed me out.
Yeah, it was a birdie
yeah,
fest.
Yeah.
It was a birdie fest. That's what makes the Open Championship so great. You will be tested
yes,
in
you will.
every aspect of your game, including the mental part of it.
Home isn't just a place. It's a feeling. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, ADT helps keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance. So you can feel at home, wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Guys don't really talk about antiperspirant. Despite that, 91% of Dove Men Plus Care users recommend it. Here's what they said.
It blocks the, perspiration, I think is the fancy word.
It's comfortable. It smells nice. My girl likes the smell.
Well, I don't. It's hard. I think it's quite masculine. My underarms aren't the worst thing at the gym.
It's kind of like the Hoover Dam from my armpits, I guess.
Dove Men Plus Care Antiperspirant. Tough on sweat, not on skin.
And so we continue here on Mike and Mike or Mike and Trey or in the future adaptation of this show, whatever the name is going to be. Keep tweeting us there, by the way, at 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, or at Wingo's or at Golic ESPN or at Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and again, all guests like Gary Player the last hour or last segment, which was great, appearing on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. So we talked a little about this the last hour. I think we need to get back into it more about Le'Veon Bell and what the market is for running backs. Again, he's going to play under the franchise tag of $12.1 million this year, which would be more than any one-year contract for a running back in the league right now. 3 of the 4 top running back contracts are guys that haven't even played a down yet.
Well, 2 of the 4.
Two out of the 4.
Zeke Elliott was played, and then there's Leonard Fournette
and then
Christian McCaffrey.
Shady. So Shady McCoy, the top 4 running backs in the NFL, is the only guy who's played more than 1 year.
Yeah, he's number 2 on the list.
In the
Fournette's
NFL.
number 1?
Yeah, Fournette's number 1.
As far as most, the guaranteed money.
So one of the reasons that Bell turned down the offer is he said he wanted to set the market for running backs. And again, the deal that was offered from Pittsburgh, I think, was 12 years for the first year, $30 million over the next 2, $42 million over the next 3. But again, all those numbers are arbitrary unless we know exactly what the numbers are for the guaranteed money in the contract, because that's the only thing you get. So he says he wants to set the market. The question then becomes, what can you set the market at for a running back? What is the number? And that's a big thing that not only Le'Veon Bell is concerned with, but according to our own Adam Schefter, the NFLPA is concerned with.
The issue with Le'Veon Bell is that the position is not a high-paying position. The franchise tag is $12.1. The highest-paid running back in the game is LaShawn McCoy, just under $8 million. Le'Veon Bell can make the argument, right or wrong, that he's the most valuable Pittsburgh Steeler, more valuable than Roethlisberger, more valuable than Antonio Brown. They make, $16, 17, 18, 19, $20 million a year. Right. He's at $12.1 franchise tag. I don't know where the Pittsburgh Steelers are offering him, but he's going to want a big number like those other guys. The running back market, the highest-paid running back is $8 million. The tag is $12 million. It's just very difficult to work through. The NFLPA needs him to get a deal done to pave the way for other big running back deals in the future. It's just so hard to do.
It is hard to do, and you do wonder what the market's going to be, but you do have some young running backs in this league coming up, and it's exactly what the NFLPA would like, is that number set high, with a Zeke Elliott, with a Jordan Howard from Chicago. How about Jay Ajayi from Miami and what he's done? Obviously, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson. So there is a good crop of young, and I know there's other great running backs, but I'm talking about these young guys in the next ones coming up to benefit from the biggest running back contract, which if Le'Veon Bell doesn't sign this year, then he'll probably sign next year.
Well, see, here's the problem, and Adam alluded to it. We've got the list of guaranteed number of dollars averaged by position, okay? Quarterback is number 1, which you would expect, 12, almost $13 million, right? 12.7. Next on that list, defensive lineman, skewed obviously by pass rushers, edge rushers at 5.2. Offensive lineman, what a glorious time to be a fat offensive lineman.
Man.
Average 4.6. DB, 4.1. Linebacker, 3.8. Wideout, 3.7. Tight end, 3.1. And here literally is the kicker. Kicker, 1.94. Last on the list, running back, $1.9 million.
Yeah, and I think what obviously is hurt, again, I think we're veering away from the true sense of the running back, and you're seeing teams go with 2 running backs, Trey.
Yep.
So when you see them with 2, they're obviously saying, well, there's 2, so one can't be that valuable if we need 2. Though I do think that's starting to shift back a little bit with some of the guys I've just named with being the real meat and potatoes running back for their teams. But that's where we've gone for a while. We've gone away from the pure running back. We've gone away from the 1 running back to 2. Now are we going back? Now when you get a guy like Le'Veon Bell, like David Johnson, like Zeke Elliott, like Jay Ajayi, like Jordan Howard, is it going to go back to, okay, these guys are just staying on the field? You mentioned the hardest thing, you don't even expect it when you see a great running back in college coming into the pros, is the thing that the quarterback wants to see the best,
blitz
is
pickup.
blocking.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Because you can't pick up the blitz. Guess where you're not going to be on the field in a passing situation? You're going to be on a sideline if you're going to get your quarterback killed. And you're right about Zeke. He came in able to do that, better than
willing
most
participant
coming in. So you have to be able to not only run the ball, catch it out of the backfield, but you damn well better be able to block and protect your quarterback as well. So the more value you provide there, you're in a position like Le'Veon is to sign that deal. So why didn't he sign that deal? We don't know the guaranteed part of that contract.
And that's a big part of the equation.
It is, and I do think he'll be in position, again, barring injury, to be able to sign. And when you say barring injury in football, that means an awful lot. But I think he'll be in position
means almost never
to sign a big deal again next year, because you do have guys coming up behind him who are going to want to match those deals and surpass those deals. But that is amazing. They are the lowest behind even the kickers who we mock regularly, in good fun.
Sometimes.
But it's amazing. They are lowest on the list. That is something else.
Well, to your point about having 2 or 3, the Cowboys are preparing or thinking, according to Adam Schefter, that they might be missing Zeke Elliott for maybe 1 or 2 games. And what's the thing you hear prevailing? Well, we do have Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden behind that offensive line. They feel like, look, they'd much rather have a Zeke out there, don't get me wrong, for all 16 games. But I think they feel like if we had to go through a few games without him, we'll probably be okay.
Right.
And that's the dilemma with running backs. And Le'Veon Bell is an amazing football player. And the risk for him at what he does is really, really high. Because, you go into the mosh pit on almost every play. And that's where things get twisted up and, you stick a cleat and all that kind of stuff happens. We've seen it happen with him a bunch of times. But it's just an amazing thing that position now, it used to be the glamour position.
Absolutely did.
It used to be the Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith.
So I guess, is it
O.J.
coming back?
Simpson.
Is it coming back?
It is on some level, but the NFL is changing so much in the way they're playing the game.
Right, they are. So I guess that's my point. Christian McCaffrey now.
Yeah.
This guy could be more dangerous. He's going to be listed as a running back, more dangerous as a slot receiver than maybe as a running back. But is that the running back now of the NFL?
I don't know.
And does that then raise the value of the running back of the NFL when, they're not on the sidelines and it's, a different back, a third down back. But if it can be that one guy, because that's the other thing. You have a third down back.
Right.
If you can be that 3 down, it's like the linebacker. You have a 2 down linebacker or do you have a 3 down linebacker? That's going to affect your dollar sign and the contract that you sign. If in a passing situation you got to run at the sideline, you're only there to stuff the run.
Well, see, this is an amazing thing to me also. No running back ranks in the top 60 among active contracts by guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, what is a realistic number for Le'Veon Bell? I mean, he's an amazing player.
He is.
He's an amazing athlete. And you could look, once he went down in the AFC Championship game last year with a groin injury, you knew the Steelers had no chance to beat the Patriots. You knew it was over. They probably weren't going to beat him anyway, but for them to have a chance, they had to have the killer bees, Bell, Brown, Ben, everybody going together. And once he was out, D'Angelo Williams was a great change of pace back for them and a great substitute. He couldn't do the things that Le'Veon Bell was able to do, So then what is a realistic number for Le'Veon?
Well, I think what a realistic number is and what a team will try and pay are going to be 2 different things.
Right.
Because here's the other thing. Teams don't want to set the market either.
No.
Because all the players I just listed, they all know. Every team owner knows about those players, and eventually they're going to come up for a deal. So they certainly don't want to set that number too high because that's what everybody's going to be shooting for when they're playing well. So I think Le'Veon Bell, quite honestly, he can say, I don't like that deal, and I want to set the market, and I'm going to wait and wait. You can only wait so long as a running back. So he's on a real – most players are, but as you mentioned with running back, lowest in guaranteed money, the clock is running. So at some point you're going to have to take a deal, and I don't – I don't think he'll get the true value he could get because, A, I just don't think a team will jump that high, and B, I don't think teams want to set the market for the next running backs coming up to say, okay, now we got to pay these guys this. We already are paying the quarterbacks a ton of money, and then the D linemen, and then the O linemen.
Right.
We have a cap right here, and now we're going to raise the amount of guaranteed money or raise the money of the top running backs. That's only going to put us in more of a hole. So they're going to really be, trying not to go up too high on that either.
Well, the running back thing is really interesting. When you look at what Zeke was able to do last year, was the 4th overall pick, I believe he was, for the Cowboys, and how he was able to contribute. And then you look at what Todd Gurley did his rookie year, and he struggled a little bit, obviously, last year. But,
he did.
But that was because of significant issues with the offensive line and the offense in general for the Rams. Melvin Gordon, who was also taken in the first round same year as Gurley, he came back and had a tremendous second year for the Chargers. And then you have Fournette and McCaffrey both going in the top 8 this year. So I think that people aren't sure what the running back position is in the NFL right now, and that's creating even more uncertainty.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And I think Todd Gurley is the example of a guy who was a runner in college, and what can you make him into in the pros? His first year he had over 1,100 yards. He had 10 touchdowns. And the second year he had, 885 yards, but he had 43 receptions.
Yeah.
The first year he had 21. So they started throwing the ball more, and I think that's how do you incorporate a running back that way? That's going to improve his value, I think, to his team. Certainly you have to do that, too, because they don't have a great offensive line in front of them. But that's the running back of today, and then that's what teams have to do.
And the injury thing is just such a big part of it. I mean, look at Doug Martin with Tampa Bay. Okay, he was great. Then he got injured. Then he came back, had a really good year, and they gave him, $44 million in the contract, and then things fell apart again for a bunch of reasons.
Yep.
So with this position, there's more uncertainty than any other position in football. And while you can do things like David Johnson, who, by the way, I think was on the field 83% of the time for the Arizona Cardinals last year, and you can do the things that Le'Veon Bell can do. Remember, when he was right, in back-to-back games in the postseason, he set a franchise record for most rushing yards in a playoff game.
Yes, he did.
Against the Dolphins, then going on the road to Kansas City, and then he injures his groin against New England, and it was done. So the question becomes, what's realistic to expect for Le'Veon, and what should a team be willing to invest in a position where there is so little certainty as to how much longer you can play? So it's a big, big part of it. So we'll get into that as we continue here on Mike and Mike. But that's something that everybody's going to have to deal with.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
All right, we continue to power our way through Hour 2. Mike and Trey on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We're reminding you, if you want to get in touch with us, whether it's about the food binging that you've been talking about or the running back situation or anything else that is on your mind, maybe naming the show that shall be named later.
Yeah, we have the food binging.
Yeah.
Coach says he ate 24 donuts for breakfast.
Oh, hold on. I just had a little murmur.
And?
I'm good. Tweet us at Mike and Mike through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Nothing makes a summer birthday or anniversary more magical than 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Egg sandwich was biting back there a little bit.
Oh, boy.
I'm not going to lie to you.
This is how that started. Trey had a half-eaten egg and cheese sandwich in his fridge that we believe is at least 2 weeks old.
Yeah, so we looked it up and online, because, everything's true online. They said that it keeps about 2 to 3 days. So I was at least 10 to 12 days past the keep date when I inhaled that sandwich last night.
Yeah, that's
all because I was I didn't want to leave the house. I did not want to leave the house.
Yeah,
that's
I don't
the
blame
bigger
you.
problem. So, it's my own undoing. By the way, here's the thing we were talking about before. One of the book managers of the sports book, Kevin Bradley, says the betting on the Mayweather Conor McGregor fight has already been massive. They're saying it's going to be bigger than the Super Bowl. He says, we knew this fight would be big, potentially even bigger than the Super Bowl. Now we're almost certain it will be. The recent trash-talking and promotional tour is only encouraging bets, and at this rate, we cannot even imagine how much we will take on it. I mean, this fight is going to make more. It's going to be bet more than the Super Bowl.
It's going to be crazy.
That seems nuts to me.
You know, the trash talking that's going on. The worst thing would be, as Kevin put it, a McGregor early round knockout, as he promised, would be a potential disaster, and it's partly the reason that they're giving a great price on Mayweather at the moment. So, and I obviously don't see that happening at all. And a lot of people, Trey, have started talking about this fight taking on a bad turn with some of the racial undertones or connotations,
misogynists,
and homophobic, and listen, and we all understand those are bad things, but to me, these guys are completely playing a role. And I'm not saying that okays anything.
No.
When you're talking about that.
Understand who you're dealing with when the guy shows up with a pinstripe suit that says F you on
F you. I mean, it's exactly right.
Understand the playground that we're
delve
dealing
into too deep of this and say and looking for all the moral clauses. The moral clauses are out the window. Okay, on this. If this is these guys are doing whatever they can to get somebody to pluck down 99.95. If you want to sit there and complain about the people that do it, knowing that these two guys are breaking about every moral code out there with what they're talking about, and certainly with the domestic violence past of Mayweather as well, that's fine. You can do that, but that's the role these guys are going to go down. I guarantee you they don't feel bad about doing it because they feel they're just playing a role in all of this.
Well,
you know, that doesn't mean it's good to do. It doesn't mean we should all go, oh, my God, this is great stuff. I think just know your audience here. Know exactly where this is coming from. Know they are just trying to get one more click, so they're making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, and you know, you talk about the idea of an early McGregor knockout like he's promised. Well, according to Forbes,
right.
McGregor's been knocked out in sparring in preparation for the bout.
Yep. Former champ Jesse Vargas said that Brandon Rios told a group that McGregor had already been knocked out in sparring in preparation for the bout.
Doesn't seem ideal.
No.
Doesn't seem
No,
ideal.
it doesn't. Do we believe it? I mean,
look, Floyd Mayweather's never lost to a professional boxer. So why do we believe that Conor McGregor, who isn't, I mean, he's a very good fighter.
Yes, and as part of the fighting he does, he boxes.
Yes, but that's part of what he does.
Yeah.
A full-time boxer has yet to beat Floyd Mayweather. So how do we think a part-timer's going to do?
Oh, I don't think he's going to do well at all, but we're all going to buy it. Are
you going to buy it?
Yes, I'm going to get it. Without a doubt. And I know all the things along the way that, you know, we sit there and we talk about the bad stuff of NFL players, domestic violence, but you're rooting for a team. Well, this guy, we're putting money right in Mayweather's pocket, who's been, you know, convicted of the domestic violence situation, yet we're still doing it. And I wish I had a good reason to sit there and say, oh, this is wrong. But unfortunately, I'm gonna buy it.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million. What color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo! Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.